What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren, and yesterday we went over what Marvel Studios and Sony has planned for the future of the Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's, and Tobey Maguire's as well. It sounds like they're all going to be returning in some way, shape, or form, not only to the Sony Spider-Verse, but in the MCU as well. However, of course, the next Spider-Man film that we'll get in the MCU that's going to take place before anything, Avengers 5, Secret Wars, etc., any other time that we'll see Spider-Man appear, Spider-Man 4 is going to come first with Tom Holland. And according to reports, there is indeed going to be another Spider-Man in that film. However, it's not going to be Tobey Maguire's or Andrew Garfield's. So in this video, we're going to go over basically everything we know so far that has been reported about what is going to happen in Spider-Man 4. And we actually do know quite a bit about it based off of these insider reports and some projects that have already happened in the MCU. So if you want to stay up to date on Spider-Man and the MCU in general, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. We're also doing a giveaway. We'll talk about that at the end. So we have a lot to talk about in this video, including many different villains, many different heroes, and another Spider-Man that's going to appear in Spider-Man 4, if the reports are all true. But one thing that you have to know about all of these heroes and villains being in Spider-Man 4 is why they're going to be in Spider-Man 4 and how. And it actually all starts with the Echo post-credit scene with Kingpin. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's really not that much of a spoiler. All it shows is Kingpin noticing the news in his private plane. He just told his assistant that he wants to meet with the heads of his other crime organizations that work below him, and he notices how the news is talking about people running for the mayor of New York City, and how basically the people who are currently running, the people don't really want, and the people really want a fighter, somebody who can rough it out, take some punches, throw some punches, and Kingpin gets the idea that he could run for mayor. In Daredevil Born Again, we're going to basically see this happen, and then in Spider-Man 4, Kingpin will be the mayor of New York City. And this is where the villains come in. You might have heard reports and rumors about a lot of different villains coming in Spider-Man 4. And while all probably aren't true, I'm actually thinking that a lot of them are, because Kingpin is going to hire a lot of people to do the bad things that he used to be able to do when he was simply just a crime boss. Now he's the mayor of New York City. He can't really get his hands that dirty anymore, at least not on the surface. He can't have people knowing what he's doing. Therefore, he outsources it. He hires people to do it for him. And that's why some people have even said it feels like we might be getting somewhat of a Sinister Six movie with Spider-Man 4, because Kingpin is going to have a lot of other villains with him. Now, keep in mind, Kingpin is going to be built up to be sort of the big bad of the street level side of the MCU. So Kingpin might not even be the main villain of Spider-Man 4. He will be in it. He will be a main villain of the film, but perhaps not the main villain. And over the course of the last handful of months, different insiders have been reporting different villains, like Mr. Negative, Scorpion, Kraven, Vulture, Prowler. Maybe Donald Glover could be coming back, especially after we saw him in live action as the Prowler in Across the Spider-Verse, fingers crossed. And recently, Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus hinted that maybe Tombstone or Hammerhead could be one of the villains as well. Now, again, the question is, well, why are these heroes coming in? Well, one is to do Fisk's dirty work. He's the mayor, he can't be seen getting in trouble, but what exactly is the dirty work that involves Spider-Man? Well, you may have heard that one of the ideas for Kingpin being mayor of New York is that he would make being a vigilante illegal. And this is what is going to bring in both the villains who work for Kingpin and the heroes who are going to work with Peter. Or I should say Spider-Man, because according to some insiders, Spider-Man 4 really is going to focus more on Spider-Man and not him as Peter Parker. And which, if we think about it, that makes a lot of sense, considering that Doctor Strange erased the memory of Peter Parker from every single person who ever knew him. So a focus on Spider-Man, since Spider-Man wasn't erased from everybody's memories, makes sense. Now, Spider-Man is probably going to be facing a lot of pressure due to this new rule of no vigilantes, especially since it seemed like Spider-Man No Way Home set up a very grounded Spider-Man, one who is listening to the police scanner, going out and fighting crimes, more of what we've really been used to outside of the MCU, something that fans are really excited for. So we know that Spider-Man's not going to quit being Spider-Man just because a new mayor who's known to be a former mob boss says that vigilantism is illegal. And this is where two other heroes are seemingly going to enter the movie that are reported to be in the movie. These heroes are Daredevil and Ant-Man. Now, Daredevil makes perfect sense, especially because Matt Murdock, the lawyer, is Daredevil Daredevil, a vigilante who wears a mask. Nobody knows who he actually is. Very similar to Spider-Man, and that's probably Kingpin's main thing. He doesn't want a masked vigilante out there. He wants to know who these people are. That way, if they do something that he doesn't like, he can find them and kind of teach them a lesson. Enter Ant-Man, somebody on the opposite side of Spider-Man and Daredevil. People know who Scott Lang is. People know Ant-Man is Scott Lang. Scott Lang is Ant-Man. His identity is known. The fact that he is a hero is known. In fact, as we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, many people know him, praise him, and thank him for not only defending Earth, but half of the universe during Avengers Endgame. Same thing that goes for the Wasp. Everybody knows who she is. And now maybe even his daughter, because we know that a young Avengers team is being assembled right now thanks to the post-credit scene of the Marvels. So given our two superheroes that are going to be joining Spider-Man, I also want to add that it doesn't seem like they're really joining him as a mentor. That is something that a lot of people weren't really excited about. They seem to want to have Peter Parker on their own. He's kind of had somebody looking over him or babysitting him, as some people say, in all of his films so far. First, it was Tony Stark, then it was Happy and Nick Fury, who was actually Talos. Then it was Aunt May, Happy, and the other two Spider-Men. Now that nobody knows who Peter Parker is, people were looking forward to Peter being on his own, and it looks like he is still kind of going to be on his own, and Daredevil and Ant-Man are going to serve pretty specific purposes. And the way that I think it's going to happen is Daredevil is probably going to be on the side of Mayor Kingpin is wrong and we should continue being vigilantes, whereas Ant-Man, who again, his identity is known, might be on the other side. Not because the mayor said so, but more about protecting those that you love. Although at this point in time, Peter Parker doesn't really have anybody. Or heck, maybe they'll both be on the side of telling him to continue to be Spider-Man, because after all, Scott Lang is a rule breaker. But again, being a father, being in a relationship, and having a family now, with the grandparents there and everything, can drastically change how somebody thinks. So perhaps Ant-Man is on one side and Daredevil is on the other side, both trying to help Peter, but he still has to make his own choice. Ultimately, I think both these heroes, Daredevil and Ant-Man, would help him no matter what, as long as it wouldn't risk the life of Cassie Lang, Scott Lang's daughter. But there is another aspect to this, and that comes in the form of another Spider-Man, Miles Morales. It's been reported that Miles Morales is indeed going to be entering the MCU. In fact, Sony basically already confirmed this. They said a live-action Miles Morales is coming. They confirmed this right after Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was released, and a lot of people were wondering about a live-action Miles Morales. And it seems to be widely believed that once Tom Holland is done as Spider-Man after Spider-Man 6, Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man moving forward in the MCU. And Miles Morales might be one of the only friends that Peter Parker himself has. I'm not just talking about Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's going to have several allies. Remember, the Avengers still remember who Spider-Man is, they just don't know he's Peter. So Spider-Man still has people on his side, but Peter Parker really has nobody. So it's a great opportunity right now to introduce Miles Morales as his friend, then make Peter Parker / Spider-Man himself a mentor to Miles Morales, because we know that is going to happen. So instead of him having a mentor, he becomes the mentor to a young Miles Morales. Something else that could potentially come from Spider-Man sticking up to Kingpin is the fact that he could gather other heroes to his side, and some of those heroes could be some of the Defenders. We know the Punisher is returning in Daredevil Born Again. There's been reports that Jessica Jones was supposed to return, but due to scheduling conflicts, she could not, unfortunately. But since she was supposed to, that means that she probably will at some point in time. And who knows, maybe some of the other ones could return as well. But perhaps they get on Spider-Man's side. Perhaps this becomes kind of a full-on war against Kingpin, and Kingpin, with all of these people that he's hired, all of these different villains, go up against Spider-Man and some of the Defenders and some of the Avengers. We have heard recently that Marvel's kind of doing some mini Avengers films before we get the actual Avengers films. Like World War Hulk is supposed to be kind of a mini Avengers ensemble film. So is Captain America Brave New World. There's supposed to be some members of the new Avengers in that film. The same thing goes for Spider-Man 4. It's kind of like the street level Avengers team here, which is just insanely cool to think about. And the last thing I'll say is I know a lot of people have been asking about MJ and Ned. Well, we know that Zendaya is on board for this film, so MJ is going to be in the movie. Now, she doesn't remember who Peter Parker is, of course, and we saw that at the end of No Way Home. And I kind of hope they don't make her realize who he is, at least not right away, because I think there is a lot of story to tell here earlier, but also we've gotten reports that perhaps Black Cat could show up and Gwen Stacy, which I think would just be insanely cool and would add a lot of depth to the story of Spider-Man in the MCU. So Spider-Man 4 has a ton of potential, and just to see Spider-Man going up against a huge iconic Spider-Man villain like Kingpin is going to be awesome in itself. But go ahead and let me know what you think about all of these reports in the comments down below. And if Spider-Man 4 could go your way, what would that way be? Let me know. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on the MCU. And if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. The winner picks one item, and we pick one winner at the end of each month. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.